Mambo ni matatu.
Ladies and gentlemen, what next for Rigathi Gachagua? Because clearly his allies and supporters are heartbroken.
We are heartbroken, disheartened, and as the people of the mountain, we are inconsolable. We believed that Rigathi Gachagua would find justice in our courts, but we are appalled and are in disbelief that justice has not been found.
And there is a general feeling within the legal fraternity that the judges failed to deliver justice to Rigathi Gachagua based on the judgment they made themselves.
So the court then makes a finding towards the end of the judgment that the right to fair hearing has been violated. But after making that finding, this is where we as the lawyers got shocked. Because all the times when the court makes such a finding, right to fair hearing has been substantially violated, the consequence, the inevitable, inexorable consequence is you invalidate the proceedings. Exactly. And that's the interesting thing. During the impeachment, any one ground that succeeded was sufficient to impeach Rigathi Gachagua. During the court hearing, any one challenge to the impeachment process that was substantive was enough to vitiate the entire impeachment process. So that ground of fair hearing, that is such a fundamental ground. It's more important than public participation. It's more important than other aspects of procedure. It is of the essence, because I said Article 25 of the Constitution says the right to fair trial is absolute. Incidentally, we tend to use the phrase fair trial and fair hearing in an interchangeable way, but they are not completely interchangeable.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So the right to fair hearing is the whole of Article 50 of the Constitution.
In this video, I want us to talk about what next for Rigathi Gachagua. Because if Rigathi Gachagua is not careful, he's likely to go the same route which Ferdinand Waititu is currently in, the same route which Mike Sonko is trying to navigate. But we all know that Rigathi Gachagua is not an ordinary political player in the Republic of Kenya. And Rigathi Gachagua is shrewd. What next for him? For me, Rigathi Gachagua has few options. The first one is to evade the Chapter 6 guillotine. We all know what our Constitution says about impeachment. Once impeached, you cannot hold public office. Which means Rigathi Gachagua's immediate crisis is no longer about reclaiming the deputy president's office as we speak, because the courts made a ruling on that.
That is exactly what it is. If you are impeached until that impeachment is lifted.
And if you take the matter to court, if you're still impeached?
Of course, until the court lifts the impeachment.
Yeah, so now.
And so is the sentence. If you have been sentenced, you are actually sentenced until the sentence is set aside.
So if you appeal, you're still sentenced?
You are still sentenced. The appeal does not take away the sentence. I think we interpret the law the way we like to, for our benefit. Of course, if I want to benefit, I will interpret it the way I want. Therefore, but the law remains the law. Yes.
But Rigathi Gachagua must appeal this case for one reason. His eligibility to ever contest or to ever hold public office in the Republic of Kenya. Because the court made some very funny ruling that Rigathi Gachagua's rights were actually violated. And from that alone, I think if you were to pursue, in my view, an appeal, they will be able now to even declare that impeachment illegal. And Rigathi Gachagua will then be cleared to run. But I don't know how long it will take. Most people are predicting that it will go until beyond 2028, after the next election. So the question is, if he appealed, will the court make a ruling about his eligibility to run, considering that the next election is just around the corner, a few months from now? So that's something which his lawyers, I'm sure, are really working on.
The first petitioner applies to have a copy of the judgment, one, and two, typed copies of the proceedings, and three, a complete set of the video recording of the proceedings.
Number two, and this is something which Rigathi Gachagua is good at. Rigathi Gachagua must weaponize. Rigathi Gachagua must weaponize the Mataya narrative. You see, we all agree that Rigathi Gachagua's impeachment was political, and indeed, impeachment is normally a political process. So far, Rigathi Gachagua has been able to weaponize his impeachment. But now, he's going to court. The court are saying that, your man, or Rigathi Gachagua, was denied his right. But his impeachment starts. Politically, he can use that to advance that narrative amongst his supporters, because he can let the lawyers to do their work. But for him, he can take the matter to the courts of public opinion. And I see a lot of sense in doing this, because 2027 general election will definitely be decided by the mountain, how Mount Kenya will vote. If the mountain, for example, will vote for, let's say Rigathi is not in the picture, and then they decide to entirely vote against President Ruto, whoever they'll give their votes will either be number one or number two, and in case of a runoff, then that guy has a high chance of becoming the president of the Republic of Kenya. But if after this impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, the mountain will be angry, they'll slow down, they won't turn up to vote, then again, William Ruto will be re-elected. Is that what they want? I don't think so. So Rigathi can take advantage of this court ruling and really hit it the way he hit his impeachment. And by doing that, he shall have succeeded in weaponizing this entire narrative. Number three, which for me is the most important thing, which Rigathi should start doing immediately, is that he can identify one leader from DCP and front him for the presidency of the Republic of Kenya in 2027. I know you are laughing, but it can work. You saw what happened in Senegal between Faye, the president, and Sonko. Sonko was supposed to be the presidential candidate. They used the court to block him. Then what did he do? Last minute, he fronted Faye. And that's how Faye ended up becoming the president. If Rigathi Gachagua is locked from the presidency, he can identify one of his DCP supporters, front him to run for the presidency. And if that's not viable, he can then now decide to pick one of them from the mountain, and or suggest for him someone like Ndindi Nyoro, and maybe front him, if not for the presidency, because the mountain has the numbers, then he can front one of them, let's say Ndindi Nyoro, as a running mate. Ndindi Nyoro being paired with Edwin Sifuna for the presidency in 2027 would really help him. But there's also the fear that if that were to happen, these guys might actually decide and frustrate him, considering the fact that he's going to be a threat to them. So his options are there, but I think identifying one of his allies to run for the presidency to consolidate the mountain would be a good idea for me. And lastly, Rigathi could also decide to just focus on developing DCP. Because let's say this case will drag up to 2028 and the elections are in 2027. He can say, okay, for me, I don't want to march. Have only two objectives. The first one is to remove Ruto. But removing Ruto from office is not enough. He can then decide, after removing Ruto, the other objective for me is to develop my political party and focus on Mount Kenya and win as many MPs as possible. He can apply the Mataya narrative, then invoke the memories of the Mountain, evoke the memory of the Mountain, which I think he has so far done. Then the Mountain will protest. By protesting, it will mean they will not vote for anything or anybody associated with William Ruto, but vote for everything and anything associated with Rigathi Gachagua's DCP party. And if DCP will be in power, either as a member of a coalition, then Rigathi Gachagua will be safe. But I'm looking at a situation where Rigathi Gachagua is fighting this war, then William Ruto wins again. He's going to be crushed. I don't know what to think. That's my take. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.